across the world on radioalansar.co.za.
Join Sumaya Khan, Jamie Beamontt, and Rehmann on Youth Frequency.
Bringing you inspiring conversations, real issues, and youth that are making a difference.
Youth Frequency, where young voices shape the future.
Only on Radio Al-Ansar.
If you wanna look amazing, lady, you know what you gotta do right now. Cover up your beauty for the Almighty. You do all this for your genius. Sacrifice is only temporary. You know what you gotta do right now. Your hijab is your crown, we all see, and you wear it to serve Ilahi.
Assalamu alaikum and what's up Mzansi. Welcome to Youth Frequency, where we keep it real, keep it fresh, and keep the conversations flowing. We're your hosts for this evening, Jamie Beamontt and Rehmann. We're doing things a little differently tonight, as the hostess with the mostest, Sumaya, is away. So she's left us in charge to take you through tonight's show, where we'll be asking the million-rand question: should young people still vote?
Yes, this is Youth Frequency, proudly on Radio Al-Ansar, 90.4 FM in Durban and 105.6 in PMB. Tonight we're joined by the one and only Luvan Alexander, an aspiring educational psychologist and a beacon of hope for the youth in the community. And the woman, the womith, the legend, Michelle Beamontt, more affectionately known as Mummy Bear, is here in the studio. She's a life coach, a motivational speaker, and a founder. Tonight, our topic is, should young people still vote? Some young people say, my vote won't change anything. Others believe voting is one of the most powerful tools we have. So are young people giving up on democracy, or are they just waiting for leaders who actually listen? Whether you voted in every election, skipped the last one, or you're still undecided, tonight is your night. Grab your phones, send us a WhatsApp, or call in and let your voice be heard, because on Youth Frequency, every opinion counts. Good evening, everybody. How are you guys doing?
All good, all good. How are you guys doing?
Doing really good on this side.
Good, thank you.
And Mummy Bear, who's joining us, she's the OG of Youth Frequency here.
Those who know will know.
You know, it's another Youth Frequency Friday, and tonight we are looking at our topic being, should young people still vote? Straight off the bat, Luvan, how are you doing there? You good?
Perfectly well, my friend.
So, with the way things are with the youth, and being young in the modern age, we have a whole lot of technology and a whole host of distractions. Do you think that the youth are still actively voting? And question to you, do you vote? Why or why not?
Before I answer, I want to run back to a point that you just brought up, where young people feel like, does it even matter if they vote?
Mm-hmm.
I can truly understand where this perspective comes from, because as someone living in South Africa, we know that corruption is so rife within our government. So to them, it might feel as if, even though they are voting for the party they feel is best suited to address the needs, their concerns, so on and so forth, that may not necessarily come to fruition. All these promises that are made to us never happen, because these people in power are pocketing the money and not doing right by us. So should young people vote? Absolutely. Do I vote? What were your questions?
Oh, sorry. The question was, do you vote? Why or why not?
Why not?
Mm-hmm.
Why you should vote? So as young people, voting now, we are big factors in guiding the future of the country.
100%.
So whatever changes happen now will have the longest lasting impact on us, because we'll be living through most of it.
100%.
And it's really up to us to prepare for future generations to come, to make sure that they have better opportunities than we did.
100%.
Very well said, Luvan. As someone who is a youth like us, a fellow counterpart, if you will, why do so many South Africans, young South Africans, choose not to vote?
Well, for one, I think a lot of South Africans are just not very well informed.
100%.
We have all this technology at our hands, and maybe some people feel overwhelmed by all the information that's out there. Maybe they are ignorant to not even go and see what's out there, look at the options that are presented to them. They could be living in another thing. If they are living in dire situations where they are struggling day to day, it might seem like an overwhelming task to address these things that may or may not affect them, may or may not happen. And for them, it's really about struggling to survive day to day and living in right now, right here,
Yes.
to focus on the future.
Okay, so what you're saying is also you're taking into account all the current day pressures that the youth are currently facing.
Exactly.
And you're saying that so to think to vote or to find out all this information is an added pressure on the youth.
Exactly that.
Okay, very interesting view. And Michelle, from your side, being someone who works in the community, who works with people from different age groups, but also someone who works closely with the youth, what issues matter most to you? Jobs, education, crime, housing, or something else?
I think there's two perspectives here. One is what matters to me as a youth leadership development sort of person, and the other one would be what I think the youth should actually look out for and what should be mattering to them. So I think from my perspective, what actually matters is if the youth are choosing to vote, you need to be able to look for a party. There's specific things, when it comes to what is happening to the unemployment rate first and foremost. Are you voting for a party that's interested in skills development? Because remember, right, you guys are youth, and I love what Luvan says, you are the future. So what is the party doing for you right now to help to hold your hand into the future? I think that's a very, very important thing, But not only that, we talk about lots of promises for the youth, etc. Okay, we need to start putting promises in action. So you need to be able to research the party well enough to see, right? Don't just look at the promises that are sitting up there on the poster. Look at the people that are sitting in this party. What track records do they have? What sort of impact have they previously made to South Africa or to the communities that they have been in? And that will help you to choose a party that can help you to move forward. But for me, what's most important is, right, is the government or is the party allowing our youth a voice and teaching them to eventually lead?
Yes.
There's no use saying the youth are the future.
100%.
But what are we doing about teaching them to actually lead? So that is my heart for the youth, that the youth are wholesomely given a voice and that opportunity, for us to walk hand in hand with them, for them to be the servant leaders that this country needs.
I really like that point that you raised about, not just looking at the values on paper, but like how the values are lived out through the actions. Because a lot of times we get met with broken promises and growing up and being small and not understanding politics and then getting into the position where you have to vote and having voted in a previous election, you start to sort of pull your hair out a little bit when you start to realize that what people say on paper is not necessarily how they carry themselves, and you see it with a lot of the...
And research is very important.
100%.
Where we're at now in our lives, there's no excuse for anybody, even an elderly person, to not to make an informed decision. Because you just go onto your phone, you Google, there's so many tools and stuff like that. But, when it comes to the elderly, it's a matter of us teaching them how to utilize these tools.
Yes.
So likewise, again, also, that's a whole nother discussion on its own. But I think today's topic is the youth, and there is no excuses for the youth. Go in research,
Thank you.
But what are we also doing to put the youth in
a position
to educate them better, so they make better informed decisions?
I agree.
100%.
There's no excuse not to have an informed decision, guys. Jamie. So oftentimes you hear your peers when they speak about voting, especially if they speak about voting negatively, often they feel that maybe their voices aren't heard or that their vote does not matter. So my question to you is, does one vote really make a difference?
Absolutely. And I think if you're a regular listener on the show, or even if you're not, then we'll mention it again. I always emphasize the power or the importance of that one. We feel that, well, us as a collective has this opinion that no, my one opinion or just me as one can't make a difference. And that's why a lot of people in society aren't really doing much, and so change isn't being made. But you'll find it's that one person that has the courage to stand up and speak up, or, you know, that might encourage the next person and the next person. So I always say never ever underestimate the importance and that power of that one. You know, that one vote could literally be yours that changes things. So don't underestimate it.
100%. I sometimes think it can be a bit of a defeatist attitude to take when you just think so negatively about your voice in the many. I mean, you get a roar from a crowd because one voice, many one voices come together and they create this impact, this change.
Yes.
Luvan, I have a question for you. If you could ask the president one question, what would it be? It could be about anything. Anything.
That's such a curveball of a question.
I know, that's why I asked you. I feel like you have the greatest takes on weird questions.
Asking Cyril a question. Man, I don't want to say something too outlandish.
We keep it real here on
Yeah,
Youth
we keep it
Frequency.
real. For me, I think I'd ask, like, what's the average day in office like for someone who's at that level? Like, what do you actually go through?
No, apparently. I've heard that it's really charming.
Pardon?
There was a tweet that I saw on Twitter a couple of days ago where someone was like, "Oh, I'd be too afraid to meet him in person because then I'd start smiling and like looking all happy with him on camera when, you know, they have an agenda against it." But apparently he's just this really charming guy.
I think a lot of politicians are like that, where they become
They
very,
have to win
very
the people.
charming.
They have to win over the people.
100%.
What would I ask him? Damn. Okay, keeping all politics and all of that aside, but realistically, if he, you know, when we in school we get essays, what would you do if you were president for a day?
Yeah.
Da, da, da.
Yeah.
I think I would ask him how his vision of how he wanted to be president and the reality of how he is actually president.
Wow.
Like, what's the difference?
That's a great question.
That's why he asked you the question.
Ask him about water.
We'll come back. We'll talk back to that one.
That can be your question. You can ask him about the water.
Mummy Bear, what question would you ask him?
Please tell me, what is the action plan for the water situation? You know?
That's valid.
crazy.
You know? I
That's
mean,
valid.
some people have swimming pools, so when there's no water, you can take water from your swimming pool, you can boil it and you can bottle it. But there's some people who don't have swimming pools, and what are those poor people
What are they
doing?
doing?
You know?
True.
Gotta wait for the
So,
water
what is
truck.
the action plan for the water situation? And is there anybody within government that's youth that can go and relay the outcome to the youth? Because the youth are they get distracted, but with adults, they don't want to listen to anybody who they cannot relate to them.
Yeah.
Hint, hint, hint. We need more youth in parliament. You know?
Yes, that's so true. And for those of you who are listening, please feel free. It's your turn. If you were the president or you got to speak to the president, what would you ask him? You can send messages through to the WhatsApp if you'd like. Luvan, earlier you were mentioning how politicians a lot of the time will need to say what they need to say or do what they need to do to win over the people. I would like to ask you, are political parties doing enough to attract young voters?
I know the biggest, like the majority of Julius's party, the EFF, a lot of their votes do come from the youth because they particularly target the youth. They talk about fixing the unemployment crisis. They talk about skills development, opportunities for growth, educational opportunities. So they make the youth their target audience, and I know a lot of youth have bought into that.
Okay.
So definitely, absolutely, they target the youth.
Okay, so the next question would be, literally refers to what you said, is how has unemployment influenced young people's views on the youth? So you mentioned, for example, how that specific party would use things like unemployment in order to encourage them to vote. So you'd say that unemployment can be, for example, a really big influencing...
They can use it as leverage. That's like the main in bold, big letters right there, we're fixing unemployment, vote for us. That's their calling.
You don't see that from any other parties.
I'm not too sure about the other parties, but I know the EFF, that they mainly target the youth through that.
Okay. And do you feel that social media influencers have too much influence on political opinions?
If you are living your life through the words of an influencer, I'd be a little bit concerned for you. But there are many credible influencers out there that do have a informed voice that can provide valuable perspective. But you would need to take that with a grain of salt, because we don't know if they are getting a brown envelope, if they're doing this out of the goodness of their hearts, if it's true, if it's genuine. So whatever they say, do your own research and form your own perspective on it.
Yes.
Develop your own opinion.
Ooh.
100%.
I have a question. So oftentimes people, or a lot of adults who are sometimes at a disconnect with the youth don't think that we are politically involved enough in a lot of ways. And sometimes, especially when it comes to universities and some of the plights that students face there, when demonstrations are had, the adults only think that, maybe we riot or protest, and that's about as political as we get. But asking from a youth perspective, what do you think you would rather do? Would you rather actively go into a protest to exact change, or do you think voting actually helps you achieve that change? Because a lot of youth feel that sometimes protesting is their only means. How do you think that the youth are feeling about that, Jamie?
I feel that we need to take into account the difference between the two. So in my understanding, protesting is coming from a space of not feeling heard and needing to feel like they're needing to take it a step further. Whereas voting, you are taking into consideration the public's, thoughts or words or their opinion directly, because they are the ones that are voting. It's actively being used. But there's also this country can also be run in a specific way, and I do feel that in a lot of ways the youth has almost lost faith, and so that's why I feel that a lot of them feel that a better way to go about it would be to protest. But I think it's important for us to note that this is coming from a space of feeling like their voices are not heard.
I agree. I agree. I feel like there's a time and a place for everything, and if you put someone into power and they're not acting on the promises that they had made, and they walk around like gods among men, sometimes it's important for the people to remind them that we put you there. We are the ones who put you in that place to make decisions for the betterment of the people, not to line your pockets. And if they need to be reminded that the people hold the power, not the minority, then I think there is validity in protesting where it is, needed.
For sure. And I think that everybody is wanting to see a specific amount of changes, hence their voices are wanting to be heard. Liam, what changes would make you excited to vote?
Changes within the current situation within the country.
That would encourage you to vote.
Well, I'm already encouraged to vote, but
as a young person, are you encouraging a young person who's maybe never voted before?
I think definitely active measures to combat youth unemployment, to embolden youth to explore skills in areas that may not be readily available to them or offered to them in schools. Like I would say, like, when we were growing up, and we went through school before we got into university or whatever, you were often handed like a sort of a sheet. It was an unspoken sheet of career paths that you would walk.
100%.
And it'd be like lawyer, doctor, engineer, scientist, psychologist. But even on the side of psychologist, no one overly spoke about that or push you, or you do the classic, like people would say, go do a BCom of sorts,
the general,
and I feel like one of the things that wasn't pushed on us was like agriculture, or moving into agriculture, especially here in the cities. And there's so much to be done in agriculture, and there's a lot of it helps society function. I mean, it's a big part of our economy. I feel like if there was skills development, not just as general workers in agriculture, but if they could sort of convey the importance of this field and help develop this field in such a way that it made it accessible to youth to grow it, I think it would be a big determining factor for me. That would be the kind of skills development I'd like to see. That would motivate me to want to,
100%.
get behind the ballot and cross my X as a young person.
Yes, and I think it'll be an important foundation to encourage all youth to do the same. But in a lot of ways, we can say that a country or place in general is only as good as the people that are taking care of it or the people that are leading it. So, Mami Bear, this question is for you. I'd like to ask you, what kind of leaders does South Africa need today?
I think by now everyone knows how I feel about servant leadership. If I had my own way, I would flip the organogram and put all the people on top and all the leaders sitting at the bottom. In order for any group or team or city or country, if you have servant leaders, those leaders basically, everybody says you got to lead from the front. My philosophy is very different.
Yeah.
I believe in pushing my people forward.
100%.
And I'm not saying that when I sit in a leadership role I'm the best leader. No, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is I've seen the impact of pushing people forward.
Yeah.
Because if you are pushing your people forward, there's no way that you can lose at any challenge.
100%.
Because when you are there, you're giving them what it is that they need. You're giving them the skills, you're giving them the support, and you have, the people at the forefront of your heart. For me, that's most important. So yes, definitely servant leaders, more leaders that are prepared to go and not just dictate but get their hands dirty as well. Also, I would love to see more leaders planting. I would love to see more leaders getting their hands dirty. Put your hand in the mud when these crises get involved. And I understand that as you go up the ladder, especially in parliament, I can only imagine the amount of pressure that there could be there. But create spaces where you are able to touch and feel and get to know the people, and I'm yet to see situations like that.
100%.
I find it interesting. I truly agree with the point on like servant leadership. Too often, and it's a phenomenon we see globally, you'll see ribbon cuttings, or even if a politician is supposed to be getting their hand in the mud, they're always in a suit. I want to see people in overalls and dungarees.
And we're not saying not all the time. We're not saying do that all the time. But sometimes just get on the ground.
Yeah, get on the ground, know your people.
Know the people, I see lots of leaders shaking hands with people, attending all these wonderful events. But I'm yet to see a leader taking a spade, and really
100%.
digging in the ground and planting a seed.
100%. You couldn't have said it better. And I think,
Can I piggyback off this?
Course,
Go
of
for
course.
it.
Someone that I would love to see in a South African space. Do we know about New York's Mayor Mamdani?
Zoran Mamdani, yes.
That guy is doing such a phenomenal job. Every time I see him come across my phone screen, there's always a positive review about this guy.
He's so eloquent too, with like the way he addresses tough conversations.
Exactly. You talk about being involved with the people. I saw a video of him leading a biking, whatever, just biking through the city. Like, you can really say he is one of the people. He is for the people. I'd love to see someone like that in a South African space.
Yeah, they walk with their feet on the ground. I think that's the best way you can describe those type of leaders, and they're not at some high, hard to reach place that's imaginary. They really walk with their feet on the ground.
I think they're really just allowing themselves to be human, which is actually so beautiful and so lovely. So we need to see more leaders that are in touch with their empathy, that are in touch with their the community, really being the community. Luvan, I would like to ask you, do young people know enough about politics before voting?
As we said earlier, there's really no excuse to not vote. We have these things in our hands, computers, that give us access to the internet, and there are tons and tons of resources. Maybe you don't know where to start. I'd say a simple Google search, maybe a simple TikTok search. Like,
social media.
There's plenty people that will guide you to the right
100%.
places.
100%.
100%.
So we have access to information. It is up to us to do our research
Yes.
and to move forward.
100%. And we encourage you, just like we mentioned previously with the influencers, use your discernment, like how you would inform yourself with all these different parties. Inform yourself with the different places where you are getting the information from as well. But there's more than enough knowledge. I absolutely agree with you.
I think it's interesting. You've talked about social media. And it's a big part of the show where we go, social media. But yeah, there's no excuse. And as much as it's a double-edged sword, it is a means to empower you. Just a reminder that all views and opinions expressed on the show are not that of Radio Al Ansar, but are of the guests and the panelists on the show. With that, we will be taking a short break, and we will catch you soon.
We'd love to meet you. Pay us a visit. Radio Al Ansar.
Welcome to Simplex Radio. Visit our showroom for the full range of car audio. Our TV department carries top brands with quality LED panels, full HD to Ultra HD, and now the experience of Super Ultra HD. Visit our theater rooms and transform your home with brands like Onkyo, Integra, Denon, Boston Acoustics, Yamaha, and more for quality audio visual experience. Now available, full range of home appliances. A one-stop shopping experience. Call 031 306 4029 or Kenilworth Park, 202 Brickville Road, Overport. Simplex Radio, the name you can trust.
In South Africa, countless numbers of sick patients leave their homes at the crack of dawn to join long queues at clinics and public hospitals, many of them suffering pangs of hunger in addition to the symptoms of disease. The Al Imdad Foundation's Slice for Life teams deliver sandwiches to these patients at more than 40 hospitals and clinics across the country. Help us to keep on relieving hunger. Donate online at alimdad.com or call 0861 786 243 for more information.
Looking for the perfect school for your child? Then join us this Saturday from 9 a.m. at the New Heights School Open Day in Camperdown. Come and meet the afternoon jam team, Fahim Jamada, Bibi Amina Fili and Ted as we broadcast live from the Open Day. We'll be joined by BU for You host Mehreen Mia from our Pietermaritzburg studios, bringing you all the excitement throughout the morning. Explore the world-class facilities, meet the educators and discover why New Heights School is where future begins.
Radio Al Ansar, Durban, 90.4 FM, Pietermaritzburg, 105.6 FM.
Good evening, and we are back. It is another Youth Frequency Friday. This is Youth Frequency on Radio Al Ansar. And if you're tuning in from Durban, that means you're on 90.4 FM and 105.6 in PMB. Tonight we're in the studio with Luvan Alexander and Michelle Beamontt, Mummy Bear, and they're joining us. And tonight's topic, if you're just tuning in, is should young people vote? We got a question here on the WhatsApp line. Let me just pull it up, and we'd like to ask the panel here tonight if they have any inputs. If you were to go into office, what are your five-year projections, and what are the milestones for service delivery? What can the community do to help? Wow, that's a quite a hefty question. To the panel, I would actually ask it. You could ask the president, you could ask government, but I want to ask it to you guys. How do you think the community can help, and what are the milestones for service delivery? Yeah, it's a tough one for you guys.
That is a insightful question.
That's a very, very strong question.
That is a strong question for the panel.
The panel, yeah.
So maybe could it be a good idea to think about how can the community help? So if we got to pretend now that we are the community, so let's maybe talk to our president and let's tell him how we can help. So how can we help with service delivery? That's a very strong question,
Mr. President.
I think it'd be mindful of how we use public resources.
Okay.
100%.
Stewardship is a very important part of being part of a community. If we are all in it together, then we need to be mindful of how we treat the resources that we are given, whether free or we pay for them. And in that responsibility and that elements of stewardship, I would think that we need to be prompt with reporting of any incidents, whether it be a blown out drain, and then do not overwhelm the channels of communication once something has been reported.
Yes, boundaries with that.
We shouldn't. I agree. It's good to be assertive and to be, on the ball with these things, but don't wear it out, I guess.
Yeah, 100%.
Anyone else got a way in there? No, you guys are good.
That was loaded.
It was a loaded question. It was a heavy one. I have another question here for you guys. Young people, young people often find themselves in a position where they are not clued up enough all year round. Do you think that your interest in politics and voting should only happen around election time? Or do you think it is something that young people should actively be pursuing in day-to-day life? Anyone on the panel here? Would they have a comment on that?
So, like,
and what are you guys doing? Let's double down on it. And what are you guys doing to be active about your political voice and your presence?
So, like we were saying about having a proven track record, I think throughout the year we should be tracking and seeing what promises are being delivered on that were previously made. What am I doing? That's a very good question.
To stay up to date,
to stay up to date,
involved.
Talk to Antimish.
Talk to Antimish. I'll have a scroll through the Google section of where they give you articles. I'll have a scroll through that sometimes. I follow a few different creators, just keeping up to date on politics, keeping what's this guy, this one color guy on TikTok that's always
the lawyer, the one with the tattoos all on his
the colored guy
face.
that's always holding the people accountable, asking them where's the money.
Where's the money?
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That guy. I follow a lot of his content, so that really keeps me in the loop.
Okay.
I think personally for me, look, I always found politics to be quite daunting, and especially expressing yourselves within the realms of politics when it comes to conversation can be a scary thing, especially as a young person, because I find that sometimes as young people we always just want to say the right thing instead of saying what we are feeling.
Absolutely.
And how I've sort of navigated the situation of staying in the know and staying in the loop is actually following people who speak in layman's terms. Oftentimes, conversations around politics are shrouded in overly verbose language.
Yeah.
See what I did there?
Wow,
Overly verbose. Overly verbose language, or really, really strong language that doesn't speak to the everyday South African. So oftentimes, I know there's this guy, Dan Corder. He has the Dan Corder Reports. It's on YouTube, but he also has a TikTok. He's the guy that wears the caps or the beanies, I think it is. He has like 5 beanies. And he's always great about explaining and breaking down most political happenings or whatever phenomena out there. But I find that following creators that really speak in layman's term or speak to the everyday South African really has helped. And then conversing those ideas and sharing those ideas or those happenings with people around you on the day-to-day. Maybe they don't have access to those resources, or maybe it's something that didn't come across their For You page. I think that's our little bit of contribution as youth, as we need to get conversations going too.
Yes, 100%. And with that said, so we've spoken a lot about how, yes, there's so much information and there's so many influences and this and that. But the truth is, a lot of people, maybe it's not that they don't know about any parties, but a lot of them maybe don't support any of the parties that they are aware of. So my question to anyone on the panel, I invite you, and if you guys are listening in and you'd like to answer on WhatsApp as well, is it important to vote even if you don't support any political party?
I think that I'd like to contribute to that one. I think that before you even vote, you need to understand what you're voting
100%.
for. That's first and foremost. If you don't have an understanding, of the party, or even just understanding why it's important that you vote, then you're just putting your vote somewhere. I think once you can understand the impact that they have on the country, and the impact that voting has for their own future, and not only their future, for their families and for their children and for their future families, then they'll start to take that more seriously. So if you were to ask me to round up what we're saying and say, what can we say to the youth that's going to actually drive them or motivate them to actually vote, I would think it's 2 things to take out of this entire evening. One is you are accountable. Once you reach a certain age where you can vote, you're accountable for yourself. yourself and for your future. So, like we say, there is so many different ways of going to do the research, understand. I mean, you can go into AI these days, ask AI a question, it's going to give you an answer, you know, so you can better educate yourself. But the second thing is we also have a responsibility as a community and as leaders to open up forums that allow our youth, like Liam says, to become better educated around the topic politics. What's stopping schools, you know, from maybe, just as an example, from a grade 10 to actually get kids into, you know, little rooms where we can bring in politicians or bring in people from different parties just to give them quick talks on it. Because remember, if you don't talk about it and you're not giving the knowledge, kids only know what they've learned. So we have to open up those opportunities to start developing our youth, you know. And so I would just say those two things. Take accountability. Don't vote if you don't know what you're voting for. But your vote is so important. Go and research and make sure that you're making the right decision.
Absolutely.
I agree. I'd like to piggyback onto that, especially if you don't support any political party, then we need to unpack why don't you support. Is it because you just don't know enough about the political parties, or there's something that you don't agree? If you don't know enough, like what Auntie Michelle says, you need to be informed. You are accountable for yourself and for the future, not of yourself but of future generations too, that are going to come after you. What I like to say is you also need to become informed, not on a surface level, not on a very vain level. Go in deep when understanding these parties. Remember, in sales, in marketing, and in politics, the people are going to tell you what you want to hear. So the things that they are advertising to you may be the things that you want to hear, and they're going to be very light promises that they may or may not break. They may or may not follow through on. Maybe it's the easiest thing that aligns with your biases about how you perceive the world today. So become very, very clued up about it. In fact, research on the things that they're not speaking about. Maybe a certain political party is not speaking about their foreign policy. Maybe it's good to get in the know on what they believe about South Africa outside of the realm or outside of its borders, how they see South Africa, what their foreign policy is, who they are aligned with. Because remember, the world is so interconnected that what we vote for here is so much broader than what's just going to happen within these borders. It also determines what influence from the outside world is going to come and impact us inside the country. So it's so important to become very well versed on not just the party's values and how they align with you, but what are their policies outside of just what they're showing you, just them very easily marketable ones. So I'd say be very careful, and you need to make that informed decision. And when it is an informed decision, we mean it is an informed decision.
Yes, 100%. I think understanding the weight and the power of your vote is just as important as the vote itself. And I think that's been so beautifully expressed on this panel. We spoke a little bit about it. Mami Bear, you touched on it. So I'll open the question up to you, or if any of you guys would like to answer. What role should schools and universities play in teaching democracy? And I did say you touched a little bit on the fact that we should bring these things into schools.
Ooh,
Go ahead.
Anyone?
as someone who's been in school,
I think that it's every South African's right to have an understanding of that.
100%.
So I think that kids should learn certain things from very little, because like I said just now, a child only knows what it sees or what it's been taught. So if a child is sitting in a household where there's still certain, I don't want to say things, but still certain how can I say, behaviors or attitudes that we've worked as a country to deal with as much as we can, like for an example racism and all that. We don't want all that. But if a child still belongs to families where all that is still happening, and a child only knows what they taught and what they hear. So I think that from very small, if we already start grooming our kids to understand what unity is, to understand what equality is, we need to start putting more flags up of the Rainbow Nation. They need to start getting involved in projects like this from very small. Then we are gearing ourselves for a better tomorrow in South Africa. So even if a child is coming from a family where a little bit, because you can't control what happens in the house, even if they come from a family where little bits of all these things we've worked hard to deal with and do away with, we can, from a school perspective, we can, from a community perspective, help to still develop that child to become the South African that we desire for them to be, and that strong servant leader that loves everyone.
100%.
As someone who's been in school, I will say that it is important to have it in schools. But I want to actually ask another question, because you brought up something that I think was so important, especially when dealing with young people.
I'm going to start charging you soon, eh?
I need to stop asking so many questions. That's a good one. You mentioned that, from young, but how young would you say is it important to start introducing like equality and unity?
It's grade hard.
Oh yeah.
That should already be implemented in the home.
Yeah, I agree.
But unfortunately, we can't choose people's characters and belief systems, and we can't set value systems in families. But what we can do overall, through the Department of Education, through just the community leaders and whatever, we can have programs. Where these kids are learning certain things. I mean, it's like a child who comes from an abusive household and doesn't know love, and then all of a sudden now their child goes to school and meets a teacher who believes in them. Some of those kids end up with degrees and they end up doctors and lawyers. Why? Because there was one person who believed in them.
Absolutely.
So I refuse to believe that you can even come from a family who's not on board with our value systems as a country, or democracy, or whatever it is you want to call it. But we can still help their child to develop.
I agree.
And to see the way, that our country is heading. We can do that. So 100%. I think from very little.
Yeah, I agree.
Just small notes on that. Talking about democracy in schools, I think it can be as easy as just having a vote in the classroom.
Thank you. I was so onto that, because like, as someone who's been, in primary school, I think being thrown into the classroom situation away from your parents, it really puts you into that deep end, where you understand that sometimes the greater good of everyone is not maybe necessarily aligned with what you want to do as a person, and that rejection and navigating those feelings is so important.
So I'm just gonna finish the point I was making. Just have a vote in class, just on small general stuff. Do we have homework today? Yes or no? Put that to a vote. And sometimes it's every time actually it's going to affect the students, so that is now training them to know that their vote is valuable in changing the outcome of their life.
100%.
So it's groomed in really, really early, and then obviously it carries over in a
into
more
adulthood.
serious way as you go up the levels, where you start making decisions that impact on a greater scale. Yeah. And in universities, how would you apply it there? Do you think politics should be part of your everyday in university, or it has a presence but it shouldn't be too prominent?
I feel like I went to varsity college, and so there was a little bit to a degree where we'd have certain social events, and we get to vote on if we're having a movie night or we're watching this movie or that movie. So very much of the similar thing, but it wasn't anything major.
Okay. So we're going to dream a little bit here, and we're going to bring the president into the conversation once more. So, Luvan, if you were president for one day, what would you change first?
I know we have a phenomenal constitution. I'm not touching that.
Okay.
It is really just bringing into practice and into reality a lot of the promises that were made. So we're just following through on what we were promised. I think I'd also put a very big emphasis on sports development and making sure that there's good avenues for you to, make it and play it to an international level. I remember recently I think there was the Hockey World Cup or something, and South Africans had to fund themselves to go and play abroad.
Okay.
That's something that the government should have paid for. I know it was a whole big issue, and eventually I think it was Gaten that did end up funding that whole tour. So I'd put a big emphasis on sports and making sure that the funds are not directly, but appropriately allocated.
I think a lot of soccer players would vote for you, Luvan.
100%. Luvan for sports minister. So a quick game before we close. Just finish this sentence. All right. Onto Michelle. Onto you. If I could change one thing in South Africa, it would be Just quick
Water
word.
crisis.
There we go. Jamie, if I could change one thing in South Africa, it would be?
More
so
passion,
much I
more
would
passion
change,
for the
eh?
people. We need more passion.
And Luvan, finally, if I could change one thing in South African in one word, what would it be?
The sports situation.
100%.
Yeah.
So-
but overall, we got a beautiful country.
100%. Any final words from our panel before we close out?
Just remember that your voice matters, your vote counts.
Yes, your voice matters.
Ditto. Your
Ditto.
voice matters.
I think I'll say your voice matters too. As we wrap up tonight's show, remember this. Whether you choose to vote or not, your future is still being shaped every single day. The real question is, will you have a say in it? Young people are not just the leaders of tomorrow. You're the change makers of today. Stay informed, ask questions, hold leaders accountable, and never underestimate the power of your voice. From Jamie, Liam, Luvan, and Mummy Bear, thank you for joining us on Youth Frequency. Until next time, stay inspired, stay informed, and remember, your voice has power. Good night, Mzansi.
Almighty, you do all this for your genius. Sacrifice is only temporary. You